You're listening to Your Brain on Air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
អ្នកកំពុងស្ដាប់កម្មវិធី Your Brain on Air កម្មវិធីនឹងចាប់ផ្ដើមក្នុងពេលឆាប់ៗនេះសូមរីករាយ
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Vogt Larson. And call me Socrates and call yourself Plato because it's Wisdom Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. Take it away, Unc. Wisdom Wednesday. Take it away.
Why the fuck would I take any responsibility for anything going wrong in my life when there's a whole bunch of perfectly good women, black people, and Jews to blame?
Curious take, Unc. I mean, we love to have Unc on as usual. He brings the most hot and straight to the core of the zeitgeist takes, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show. I'm so happy to be back with you all today. I mean, it's great. You know what I mean? Wednesday, middle of the week, Thursday, Friday, and then you're done. Can you believe it? I mean, unless you work an unusual schedule, in which case, prayers for thee, shalom, whatever they say in your culture. Ladies and gentlemen, I have so many stories that I'm going to get to today. There's going to be some that are going to matter, and you know, they're like really important to like, they're like, oh shit, politics, maybe they're going to influence some things here and there that you're going to be hearing about for the next few years, who knows. But we're going to start off with something relatively unserious, which is a Native American tribe, the Tongva peoples of the Los Angeles Basin, the original peoples of that land. The people that she didn't call out by name in her Grammy speech, but she did say, no one is illegal on stolen land. She didn't directly refer to where she was standing or where she lives, which happens to be native to these peoples. And the Native American tribe that owns the land under Billie Eilish's LA mansion is giving her a message. They're asking personally that celebrities should explicitly reference tribes if they want to use them in virtue signaling. Let's take a look at this clip. Why don't we? You know what? I could have predicted this. I could have seen this coming the moment that she... Listen, I'm not saying don't use your platform to say things that you don't care about, but to say something so, let's put it, nonsensical, something so low IQ, so like mid-intellectual, like it's first grade elementary media literacy. Oh, we, the people, the white people came here, but there were people here first, so then the land is stolen. It's like no context for world, expansionship, no context for which culture inadvertently came up with the wheel first or anything. Nothing saying about how the Native American tribes lived fighting each other just as brutally, one could say, as the white man came and fought them, but, they just had tools that made it a little bit more efficient. It sucks. Nobody's happy about it. Some people are, but I'm not personally. But what I'm trying to say here is that when, you're trying to make a call out to the Native Americans, they don't exactly like when you just use them for clout, but then you don't plan to cash the check. And in this case, cashing the check is giving back the land.
Billie Eilish's viral moment at the Grammys has her in hot water with an actual Native American tribe. During her acceptance speech, she said, "No one is illegal on stolen land." Well, now the Tongva people are speaking out and letting the world know that her LA home actually sits on ancestral Tongva land. The tribe said if celebrities want to make these kinds of statements, they should explicitly reference the tribes involved.
Why not?
The comments sparked backlash online about what Billie Eilish should do next. Should celebrities practice what they preach? What do you think in the comments?
Absolutely. Listen, Billie, I happen to have whatever percent Native American in me. I think it's like 10, maybe 14 something. I'll check on my ancestry. But I'm coming. Like, hand over the keys. I'm ready. I know that I'd live a couple... wait, hold on a minute. What are some celebrities that live on native Ojibwa lands? I can go and I can harass them at their front gates, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not advising you do this. I'm saying that, like, if you're Native American, take what's yours, I guess. You know what I mean? These people, for apparently the Late Show Live, went ahead and they went to her front gate, which I think is it's a beautiful opportunity. I'll leave it in the description if you want to see it yourself, but I'll just play a clip.
Let us in, please, Billie. We are here because this is stolen land, Billie, and we think we should be given access to your quite lovely $3 million mansion.
It looks nice.
Hello, Benio from the Late Show Live on GB News. Do you remember when Billie Eilish said this at the Grammys?
No one is illegal on stolen land. Nice is all I want to say, sorry.
Well, Billie reckons there's no such thing as an illegal human because we're all on stolen land. So we're here in Billie's quite posh neighbourhood in Los Angeles. Let's go and see if she practices what she preaches. Hopefully.
She'll probably invite you in.
She'll have no problem with me waltzing in, maybe making a cup of coffee or a tea. $3 million home. She's got some paddocks out the back with stables and horses.
Maybe you can get a yes, go for a ride.
With it because she stood up on the stage at the Grammys. Tens of thousands of people watching the audience.
Well, here's the thing. They should have had an Indian guy. They should have had like a Native American with maybe a feather hat or something like that doing the interview instead of this white guy, because then the Native American can go, "You are denying me, a native person." Seriously. They should have had Sitting Bull do this.
Here we go. Oh, nice little place. Bins are out. It's bin collection day. First of all, isn't that ironic? Massive gates keeping people out. I thought Billie didn't believe in borders. Well, according to the driveway, Billie does believe in borders. She believes in massive gates keeping people out.
Ah, Billie. Nah, it's okay. No worries, Billie. We understand. It's okay. We listen. We accept PayPal. I think that the native Tongva peoples will appreciate another. Remember when she gave $11 million and everybody praised her because she like solved global warming or something like that? Well, whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't even our first story that we're going to cover, but it's just one that I wanted to dish in there. One that's really fun. If you want to check it out, it's in the description. But, you know, natives are going to be, they're going to be holding people accountable because admittedly, if you go, hey, if you're not illegal on stolen land, that is inadvertently an invitation, and this is a warning for every other future celebrity who wants to pull this shit at any award show. The Oscars are coming up, and if I hear any single person, if Josh Duhamel, I doubt he'll do this, if he goes ahead and says no one is illegal on stolen land, I'm pulling up in my Mercedes, and which I took from other celebrities, and I'm pulling up to his nice little land that he has somewhere in Minnesota, and I'm going to say, you are on stolen land, I'm taking this mansion, and he's going to have to give it up, unfortunately. I love the guy, but I don't want to have to do this, but apparently his house is nice. I don't know. Let's get to our next story. Why don't we, people? I'll stop wasting your time. Minneapolis neighbors are creating barriers to block U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement as a show of resistance to really lower the cortisol in Minnesota, ladies and gentlemen. We are no stress. We never stress in Minnesota. We are a bunch of blondes, or at least we were. I'm just kidding. Never exactly were. We created this beautiful blended culture of, Native Americans, Germans, the Swedish, the Norwegian. There was a nice toss and turn up of a ton of different cultures and whatnot. And whatnot, like, people can point out, they can go, "Oh, you're overrun, you're Captain Phillips, you got your governor," having people look in his face and go, "I am the captain now." And I would love to say this, it hasn't always been like that. It's a relatively new course of action. And it's relatively relegated to the major cities. And it's Michigan. You're thinking of Michigan where like Dearborn, like who's heard of Dearborn, Michigan, where the Muslim mayor is telling people, you are not welcome here because you are an agent of non-peace. Like, cool. We're not like that yet. We haven't gone that far. Minnesota's on its way. We'll talk about it in the future, maybe a couple of years from now. But in a move that is turning neighborhood watches into neighborhood blockades, residents across Minneapolis are taking a direct action to stall federal immigration agents. Since the launch of the massive Operation Metro Surge in December, locals have been setting up makeshift barriers from parked cars and physical roadblocks to disrupt the grab-and-go tactics used by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. For many in the Twin Cities, these are just like, what's it called? They are building up these sort of, have you ever seen Bad Piggies or Angry Birds, like the thing that the pigs build up, where it's built of wood and like corrugated metals and like ice, whatever they can literally find. Not ice, the agents, but like blocks of ice. Like literally, they'll just grab from the materials around them, and they will construct this thing. And I'm in full support of ice moving in there with the birds and knocking these forts down, because that's kind of the game. That's the point of the game, is you have to knock down the pigs. But the pigs in this case are not law enforcement. They're these weirdo, these like, I'm sorry to say it, like these 60-something women with like no time on their hands. This woman, she shows up, she's got complete white hair. She just looks blasted, quite frankly. It looks like an early morning, and this woman looks like she's half in a bag. Let's take a look at this clip.
We are literally creating a place that we know who's coming and going in and out of our neighborhoods.
Yeah. Wait, you want a border so that you know who is in and out of your neighborhoods because you prefer to know who your neighbors are? That's kind of almost exactly like what ICE is there to do, but whatever. That's chill. That's all right.
A makeshift roadblock turned this intersection into a roundabout. Cars slowed as drivers noticed, some honked, others asked questions, and one man brought food for the people standing watch.
It's kind of inspiring.
Wow, okay.
We've got folks out there who are kind of taking care of us, looking out for us.
Oh my God, this guy's. We got people who are looking out for us, trying to protect us. It's the most not nonsense bullshit argument. I'm sorry, these people are blocking up traffic. They've turned an intersection into a roundabout so that they can check who's coming in and out of their neighborhood. What the fuck are we doing?
Police stepped in, clearing the roadblock and restoring flow of traffic. Still, residents say the roadblock was necessary.
We need to keep our neighbors safe, so we will be doing this again.
Yeah, that's almost like what ICE is doing. They're trying to keep their neighbors safe. It's kind of weird how people can like work like that. You know what I mean? People are complex.
We are currently in the south side of Minneapolis, so I want to show you a new form of resistance against ICE, another iced-out method that's growing and developing. You hear these road blockades. This is at least the fourth one in just a 1 mile radius I've seen. I talked to one of the demonstrators here, and they said it's about more than resistance. It's about bonding with your neighbors. They also have flyers they're issuing out. That straight call for 10, 100, and 1,000 blockades. So this is really a response to ICE's rapid grab-and-go methods, where they're trying to move as quickly as they can through city streets. Stay with KARE 11 for the latest information.
So they're actively blocking up traffic. This is unfortunate because this is going to get more people killed. The community apparently, in their words, they feel under siege. What's the solution to this? Not building blockades, not building up. Oh, we're real revolutionaries. I'm sorry, these people are not going to be remembered like the Boston Tea Party revolutionaries. You guys are going to be remembered like the nonsense protesters who get sprayed with when they bust a hydrant just to dispel a crowd of you loonies, and then they spritz you a little bit, and then for some reason people go, the pavement burned my skin when the water pushed me back. It's like, well, you shouldn't have been doing that shit. Sorry to say it. That's just kind of. I'm sorry. I have a very sensical way of operating, and if people don't like it, that's it.
Police are stepping in after a community created their own method of public safety against ICE. Uba Ali joins us live in Minneapolis.
Uba Ali, my sister. My sister. I love this. What up, Uba Ali?
Well, Frank, they say this is all in the name of public safety. A grassroots response to immigration enforcement, they say, is hurting their communities. At this roundabout at 34th and 17th, flames burn as people stand guard.
We are literally creating a place that we know who's coming and going in and out of our neighborhoods.
That's kind of what immigration enforcement is trying to do, but with the nation, kind of, and you're standing in their way. But that's chill.
At 32nd and Cedar Avenue, a makeshift roadblock turned this intersection into a roundabout.
Goofy.
Cars slowed as drivers noticed, some honked, others asked questions, and one man brought food for the people standing watch. Hi, sir. Thank you so much. How did it make you feel just seeing a community checkpoint in your neighborhood?
Oh, it felt fine. I don't have any trouble with folks helping out.
Wade Haynes has been standing at this corner twice a day for one reason: to stand up against ICE activity and keep his community safe. He chose this corner. Others chose this intersection.
It's kind of inspiring. It's like, wow, okay. We've got folks out there who are kind of taking care of us, looking out for us. That's good.
But Minneapolis
Looking out
police
for us, that's
stepped in,
good.
clearing the roadblock
Good.
and restoring flow of traffic.
Honestly,
This is vigilantism. We can't be encouraging this sort of behavior. You're blocking up traffic with garbage, and you're making this place look like a third world country. You loony. Wash your hair. This woman they're interviewing, she has this fucking frizzy, this gray hair, and she looks disheveled, and her eyebrows look a mess. She needs to get in a salon right now. And I'm sorry, honey, but that whatever jacket you're calling, that fucking Lester Nygaard from Fargo jacket that's just fucking huge, you need to drop that shit, and you need something that hugs your curves. You look like shit, mama.
and it's sad about it.
Still, residents say the roadblock was necessary.
We need to keep our neighbors safe, so we will be doing this again.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will, because she has nothing to do this weekend, so she's gonna be out and about.
Person said they cleared the street to ensure public safety for the neighborhood and emergency vehicles.
Good. This is not the only things that are happening. They're like, what's it called? They're trying to use encrypted apps like Signal. Neighbors are operating like the sophisticated ICE Watch networks, as we've already covered, to track unmarked federal SUVs in real time. When a sighting is reported, volunteers, they'll often arrive within minutes and use whistles, they'll honk horns, they'll use their own vehicles to create friction for the agents, as they like to call it, when really it's just obstruction. These groups argue that they create visible, noisy physical presences, that they can provide enough of a window for the undocumented neighbors to seek safety. You know what I mean? It's like they are against the idea that their country should be a bastion of legality. They are against the idea that the United States should be a place of laws where they are enforced. It's unfortunate, because these people have been indoctrinated by the idea that ICE is purely picking people up only because they're brown, only because they're black, beating them up, leaving them out of shit. And admittedly, I can't say that none of that is happening, because just like with every police officer, unfortunately, yes, there's dicks. I'm not going to defend the Fargo PD, but I'm also going to defend them every day, because Fargo needs a PD. I'm sorry, it's a city that is on the brink if you don't have police officers. That's just a fact. You need police officers, you need immigration enforcement, and these fucking loons are going to Target and blocking up the I want to go to Target, I want to get Starbucks, and now I'm going to have to go through the fucking drive-thru.
Target shorts are not for ICE. Workers shouldn't pay the price. Till Target kicks ICE out of the store, we won't shop here anymore. Till Target kicks ICE
Out of the store, we won't shop here anymore. Faggots. I'm sorry, if you want to see this, if you would love to see this, this is someone named Activist Derek on TikTok. Yeah, they're real activists down there in Minneapolis, guys. This show of resistance, I mean, between all of like the protest music that we're getting, Through the Winter's Ice and Cold, that terrible Bruce Springsteen song that every boomer Gen X is gonna pretend to love because they still love Bruce Springsteen because he interviewed Obama one time. Listen, we just have to be honest. We have to get real. The shit that's going down in Minneapolis is cringy, and I cannot wait to be down there again to film it all for you guys, because this is too fun. I have too much fun with cities like this. I have too much fun, especially when it's in my own state. I love the feeling of people really feel like they're making a difference, and I understand that what they seem to think they're fighting against is yes, it is bad for the country that we have people out there in the streets patrolling with masks and whatnot. I agree with you. That is not an inherently good image to have. Still enforcing the law, regrettably. In most instances, they are executing warrants. They are not able to go to prisons and arrest the people that are already in custody, because most of the time these states refuse to work with them. So where else are they supposed to go but to the streets? It's unfortunate, and I hate the way that it's being executed, but the way to solve it is not the way that these imbeciles, the way that these absolute Enemies of society, enemies of order are trying to attempt it. It is sickening. I don't want to be associated with it. It is something that it is a wing of the left that I feel is getting too much traction. It's getting too much in people's heads where it's the cute winter boots trend all over again. Do you remember that? Remember when people were doing the cute winter boots trend? Exactly. No one will. Just like no one will remember this. I'm sorry. Unless they go and burn down another Target, unless they actually go and do more shit, no one will remember this, and no one will remember Alex Pretty and Renee Good, in the words of Bruce Springsteen, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, it sucks. This whole situation sucks. And sanctifying randos who got themselves into unfortunate situations with ICE, it's not going to make your side look any better. It's not going to make our side look any better. It's not going to win. We're not winning. No one's winning. The blue wave hopefully is on its way for the midterms, but it's probably not coming. We don't know. And then when we actually think we're winning, we never make any meaningful progress in any direction. It's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all a joke, it's all a show, and that's why we cover it, because it's funny, it's goofy, and we love to have fun. Speaking of funny, goofy shit, let's talk about Jim Crow 2.0. In the words of Chuck Schumer, take it away. Second story. Jim Crow 2.0 or reasonable voter reform, the argument over the SAVE Act and why it's overblown, ladies and gentlemen. There's a major political battle. If you haven't heard about it, it's about the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or the SAVE Act. It's one that's been heating up again. It's been denied in the past. Both sides are painting a hugely different image of what it's going to be like in the future if this bill would actually pass. On one hand, supporters are calling this very common sense reform to ensure that only U.S. citizens cast ballots in federal elections. They argue that requiring the documentary proof of citizenship, like a birth certificate, passport, it's a simple step to close potential loopholes and to bolster public confidence in the integrity of our elections. I don't inherently find that to be a disagreeable image. People can go voter suppression, people can go whatever. A birth certificate, it's one of the easiest things to receive. Passport, not entirely hard. There's very easy means for people to acquire these sets of data. It's not very hard. To them, it's making sure that one person, one vote is the rule that is strictly enforced. I kind of understand it. I can have sympathies to that side. However, there's a lot of critics that have labeled this bill Jim Crow 2.0, such as Chuck Schumer. Get him out. I'm sorry to say it. No one likes him. Not even establishment Democrats like him at this point. They're claiming that it's Jim Crow 2.0, claiming that the modern-day poll tax is designed to suppress certain voters. They point out that the non-citizen voting is already illegal, and according to multiple studies, exceedingly rare, which is true. The real danger, they say, isn't fraud, but it's the high hurdles the bill will create for legal citizens. For instance, roughly 21 million Americans lack easy access to citizenship documents. What that means exactly, lack access to, is arguable in most instances. Most of the time, it's that these people don't want to get their ass up to a post office, or maybe they're a vulnerable adult, maybe they have certain other ailments, whatever you want to. There's a ton of things that are standing in people's way, whatever you want to say. Critics are also warning that the bill's in-person requirement would likely effectively kill online and mail-in registration, which, yeah, I don't really care. I'm sorry. I registered to vote in person. I think most people register to vote in person. You do it most of the time when you get a driver's license. It's not demanding. I'm sorry. People are saying that this is going to disproportionately impact rural voters. I was a rural voter, excuse me. Students, they'll figure it out. Married women whose legal names may not match their birth certificates, bring proof of a marriage certificate. They've already cut out regulations so that people are able to do that. Analysts are arguing that both sides, they're using high-octane rhetoric. I would agree with that, particularly the practical reality lies somewhere in the middle. Most Americans, about 80% in most polls, actually support the idea of showing ID to vote. I'm in that group. I think that it's ridiculous that we don't have that in most states. the Jim Crow label, it's a stretch for the average voter. A lot of people, they're Voda. I pronounced that like I was from Brooklyn. But, most people are hearing this and they're like, this sounds like AOC, the hijab squad. People are just like, they're gonna racialize it. This is shit you're gonna see on Facebook from your uncle in a minute. It's true. I don't know what to tell you. It's just a fact. The flip side, proponents are claiming the widespread non-citizen voting is often unsupported by data, which is very true. Makes the bill seem like a solution in search of a problem. The SAVE Act is making its way through Congress. The real question is remaining. We don't really know if there's a way to secure our elections without making it harder for millions of eligible citizens to participate. I want us to be really, really honest. 36 out of the 50 states already require some level of what this bill would establish. So does most of the developed world, let's also be honest, like in most other places where they hold federal elections, they require voter ID. It's not much of an ask, and the ones that claim that it is don't understand the frailties and externalities that they create by having such few restrictions on these applications for voting. You've already got to show an ID for alcohol, for weed, to get on planes, to get into movie theaters, to rent a car, to check into in and out of a hotel room. Now with the SAVE Act, from what I can see, you'll just have to show one when you go to vote. Many are going to argue that it's also going to require some proof of citizenship in order to register to vote, which, honestly, it's already federal law. You must be a citizen to vote. That's just the truth. Currently, right now, though, when you register to vote, you simply got to attest to being a citizen. It's based off of your word currently. And yes, it's a federal crime to lie. That is also true. But the DMV cross-checking other data sets that they use to verify, it's inconsistent across state lines. Let's address the truth around it. The Heritage Foundation found that the number of illegal non-citizens voting from 1999 to 2023 was only about 77. To be fair, so that was only the convictions that they were able to secure. Arizona has carved out a massive hole in our electoral security. And this is not a Trumpian argument or a take about the electoral security. Just allow me to explain. In 2013, they tried to make it a requirement that you have to prove citizenship when you register to vote. However, the Supreme Court at the time, they struck it down under the pretext that under the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, it required states to have a uniform federal form in order to register voters for federal elections. However, the Supreme Court allowed Arizona to require the proof for citizenship to vote in state and local elections, meaning now that in Arizona, if someone does not prove that they are that they have citizenship and registers to vote, and the state is unable to ascertain their citizenship, they are given a federal ballot only, which means they are still allowed to vote in presidential, Senate, and House elections. This is only one example of the fishiness. 19 states, Minnesota included, routinely give illegal immigrants driver's licenses and forms of ID, some of which Minnesota included like they hand you the voter registration during the same time. And these people, all they need to do is check a box and claim they're a citizen. It's not happening en masse. Okay, let's make that very clear though. Millions of illegals aren't lining up to vote for RFK Jr. But we can at least verify that the elections we have from here on out with this. I really see no harm, no foul. I think that with this bill, we could just all, as an entire country, feel a lot safer on the idea that we're going to know 100% for certain that we're not going to have 77 convictions within a 24-year span again. That's not what we want. Many people think that it's already hard to produce a passport, birth certificate, real IDs, a license, whatever to register. Or they'll bring out the statistics and the studies that 9% or 21.3 million Americans, I think it actually is, who are voting age don't have these papers readily available to them. Most voters of color, younger voters, and married women who change their names, but bull honky, the bill also includes various options for proof of citizenship. Quite frankly, if your sloppy-nosed friend living up the block who can't find any of his federal ID in his filthy apartment, I don't want him voting in elections, and quite frankly, it seems that he doesn't want himself voting in those elections either. And women, like I said, they can bring marriage certificates to prove the name change, so bullshit on that one too. I trust a lot of people in the United States, their own ability to stumble into a courthouse and gather the simple documents every legal person should have at their disposal to some extent. Let's just hear a couple of Senator Schumer's words, on the topic before we close out.
Objection.
So last week, Mr. President, the Senate did its job to fund 96% of the government.
Mr. President.
While splitting the DHS bill from the rest of the funding package so we can rein in ICE and end the violence. Now it's the House's turn to do its job. But a band of MAGA radicals want to hijack government funding to push an outlandishly toxic bill called the SAVE Act that would disenfranchise millions of American citizens. Just a few hours ago, Donald Trump said he wants to nationalize elections around the country. That's what Trump said. You think he believes in democracy?
That is democracy.
We want to take over. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. Does Donald Trump need a copy of the Constitution? What he's saying is outlandishly illegal. Once again,
what he's saying is outlandishly illegal. Excuse you. It's ensuring that citizens are the only people to vote. All right, cool.
No differently than a dictator wants elections in America to be as legitimate as elections in countries like Venezuela.
Oh my God.
No mistake.
This is this is not winning with anybody except for the audience that you fully captured. Only the trained seals that sit there and watch MSNBC MS Now, or the people who sit and watch Fox News. Only the trained seals are the people who sit and watch Congress and go 100%. Chuck Schumer's got it in the bag.
One of the tools to nationalize elections is precisely the SAVE Act that some Republicans are pushing in the House.
Some Democrats, 80% of the country agrees with it.
I want to be very clear. The SAVE Act is dead on arrival in the Senate.
Dead on arrival.
Every single Senate Democrat will vote against any bill that contains it.
Any
it's
bill.
outrageous that House Republicans would even consider putting in the SAVE Act in legislation to fund the government.
Why?
Democrats have been clear for months we will never in a million years consider this deeply restrictive and overreaching piece of legislation. Republicans who are pushing for the SAVE Act are trying to kill the funding bill and prolong this shutdown. That's all they want. They want to kill the bill. Kill the funding bill.
You want to kill a bill that 80% of Americans support.
Speaker Johnson should tell these SAVE Act Republicans to stand down, or else this shutdown is on the Republican shoulders. Now it's for the SAVE Act itself. It has nothing to do with protecting our elections.
What does it have to do?
To do with federalizing voter suppression.
Really?
The SAVE Act is nothing more than Jim Crow 2.0.
Jim Crow 2.0.
Online registration by mail, and registration drives would become a thing of the past. If you're one of tens of millions of Americans who does not have access to your birth certificate, or if you're one of the 50% of Americans who don't have a passport.
Figure it out, dum-dum.
The SAVE Act could make it impossible for you to participate in elections.
It's an IQ test. It's an IQ test. It's a natural IQ test. If you can't figure out how to get the documentation to figure out a way for you to be able to register to vote, which is the very basic requirements that you have to present when you want to buy a car. I don't understand. What's in your way?
It would lead to massive purges that inevitably remove legitimate American citizens, legitimate citizens who have the right to vote, from voter rolls. And even married couples aren't spared from the SAVE Act. If you get married and you change your last name, you too would be at risk under the SAVE Act of getting booted off the voter rolls.
Not true.
This is just an outrageous.
This is just outrageous.
Turning the clock back 100 years.
This is restricting the women's vote.
Right-wing brain that believes that certain people really shouldn't vote.
Oh my God.
That some citizens are more valuable than others. So let me be clear as I can. The SAVE Act is dead on arrival in the Senate. Hear that, House right-wingers? It ain't happening. Anyone who trying to push the SAVE Act as part of the government funding is pining for a shutdown.
Interessante. Muy interesante. Listen, he can support whatever he'd like. I don't think it's going to go the best for him. Inadvertently, I don't think just for his sake. I'm advising against this. I don't think it's going to stand in his favor very well. He's going to be in the Senate till he dies. That is one thing that we have to remember. He's one of those skeletal figures you will watch wither before you. As you age, you will age, but he seemingly will become the crypt creeper before your eyes. The crypt keeper, excuse me, Jesus Christ. Let's jump into the rapid fire section of today's headlines. There's a lot of stuff that we got to cover. I can't dedicate 3 or 4 paragraphs to every single thing, so we're just going to go through a bunch of the stories that are really important. All right. Second round of Ukraine-Russia-U.S. peace talks. Peace talks that began in Abu Dhabi. Man, Ukrainian and Russian negotiators with U.S. mediators have commenced a second round of peace talks in Abu Dhabi aimed at negotiating an end to the nearly 4-year war. Meetings are coming as Russia continues to attack Ukraine's energy infrastructure and faces intense diplomatic pressure to reach a settlement. Global Human Rights Watch report warns of democratic backsliding. Human Rights Watch has released a major report Friday warning of a democratic recession, with a large majority of the world's population now living under autocratic or illiberal governments, and democratic norms eroding globally. Damn, that's not fun, and we don't want to live in that sort of a society. The Trump administration is pulling officers from Minnesota. The administration's border czar announced the immediate withdrawal of 700 officers and federal immigration enforcement officers from Minnesota, reversing the high-profile deployment. I mean, it's still 3 or so thousand, minus 700, that's 2,300. That's 2,300. That's not awful. It's still quite a few. I'd say that's more than you'd like. U.S. has signed a massive funding bill to end the partial government shutdown. Good news. Donald Trump has signed a large spending package late Tuesday that ended the recent partial government shutdown and funds the U.S. government through to the end of the fiscal year. The bill also includes expanded funding for health programs and reforms the pharmacy benefit management. Nice. I don't know what exactly that means. Dietitians are sounding the alarm on weight loss jabs like Wegovy. I mean, obviously, is this not the most obvious news you ever saw coming ever?
Dietitians have sounded the alarm on weight loss jabs, saying that patients using the injections are at risk of serious health problems, including brain and heart conditions, even cancer. It's all stemming from malnutrition because people on weight loss drugs aren't eating properly. A review of 41 global trials of the drugs found only 2 measured dietary intake. Experts say that's extremely concerning.
If the food you're eating isn't meeting your nutrient requirements, you can actually end up with a deficiency disease that will sneak up on you and could be completely missed until it's a major problem.
Advocates say all prescriptions for weight loss drugs must be followed with a referral to a dietitian covered by Medicare.
Medicare. Fascinating. Nerve-wracking, quite frankly. If you're on those GLP-1s, make sure that you're keeping an eye on yourself. The U.S. is leading global in effort to diversify critical mineral supply chains. Very fun. The United States is hosting a major international gathering to reduce the global dependence on China for critical minerals vital to tech and clean energy industries, convening more than 50 countries to coordinate supply chain strategies. Big move, big win. Not a big move, big win for this one. The sheriff has confirmed ransom note is now a part of the Nancy Guthrie disappearance investigation.
We are learning about a possible new clue in the search for the mother of Today's Show co-host Savannah Guthrie this morning. Authorities are looking into whether a ransom note sent to a local TV station there in Arizona is legitimate. Jonathan Vigliotti spoke with the Pima County Sheriff, who said they felt compelled to share the note with Guthrie's family.
The thousands of tips that you get, you don't show everything.
Well, no, because some of them just don't have any.
This rose to the level.
Sure does. It's more threatening. You guys asked, was there any threats? This was pretty threatening.
Jared Hill joins me here in studio now. He's been following this heartbreaking case since it broke. Jared, what more do we know? Good morning.
Errol, investigators said that they had hoped to keep this purported ransom note under wraps, at least until TMZ reported they too received what seems to be a ransom note. While the legitimacy is still a question, investigators say that they are taking this and every piece of evidence seriously as they search for Nancy Guthrie.
Well, yeah.
We don't know where she is.
Critical questions as the search for Nancy Guthrie, mom of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, stretches into a fourth day.
We do believe that Nancy was taken from her home against her will.
Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos confirms to CBS News an apparent...
Chris Nanos has been the least media-savvy guy I've seen in my life, probably ever. I understand that he was like, no, I'm not used to people listening to me or wanting to know leadership, or I understand people, they expect me to have words that make sense, but, like, I just don't, I'm not always the best, and, like, I'm not always used to people holding me accountable.
A ransom note sent to a local TV station is now a part of the investigation. In it, specific details about the 84-year-old's home and what she was wearing the night she went missing, but he would not confirm its authenticity.
It's like any piece of evidence. You give it to us. You give us a lead. We're going to look at every aspect of that lead and work it as a lead.
TMZ says it also received a note demanding millions of dollars in Bitcoin, forwarding it to the sheriff. This, as CBS News cameras captured what appears to be a small amount of blood outside of Nancy Guthrie's house. Nanos says a little bit of blood was found inside the home as well.
We've submitted all kinds of samples for DNA, and we've gotten some back, but nothing to indicate any suspects.
The FBI is assisting, conducting interviews and analyzing local cell phone data. The agency also asking for the public's help.
Every lead and tip is important. We're aggressively pursuing and looking into every single one.
As the
I'm
search
sure you
continues, the sheriff says he does not believe the broader community is in danger. The sheriff also says surveillance video hasn't yielded any clues yet. They're trying to recover any possible footage that might have auto-deleted. Meanwhile, yesterday, President Trump said he is planning on calling Savannah Guthrie, describing the situation, Errol, as terrible.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, they're not going to find her. I'm sorry. If they do, she's dead. This is unfortunate. This is really, really, really sad. She had the medication. It was already the 10 hours have elapsed or whatever, however long. She needs to take it every 10 hours or every day. I forget. Even if it is every day, she's already, it's too late. I'm hoping that's not the case, but like, I'm trying to be a realist here. It's unfortunate. It's a really regrettable situation. Nothing good to say about it. Nothing good to say about it. So I'm instead going to move on to something that there might be a little more fodder for me to get a little bit more light for this episode. Melinda French Gates is, as we've already covered, she's responding to the Bill Gates reference in the Epstein files. It's she's uncomfortable about it. I wouldn't be the most comfortable if I had sex with somebody who went to his island.
Billionaire philanthropist Melinda French Gates is...
Oh, shit. Billionaire philanthropist. Okay. She's a billionaire philanthropist all of a sudden. Where did all that money come from?
out after her ex-husband Bill Gates appeared in the newly released Epstein files.
For me, it's...
I would love to ask, what has she done ever? Except for, like, nothing. Ever in her life.
It's personally hard because brings back memories of some very, very painful times in my marriage.
The couple divorced back in 2021. Now Gates addressing the Epstein scandal with NPR's Rachel Martin.
But whatever questions remain there of what I can't even begin to know all of it, those questions are for those people and for even my ex-husband. They need to answer to those things, not me.
Well,
yeah,
Bill
you
Gates
do.
has previously said his meetings with Epstein were a, quote, huge mistake. His mention in the newly released documents are fueling fresh scrutiny over the nature
She's just as guilty as him.
of their association.
And I hope there's some justice for those now women.
Asked about
Look
the
at
new
her lying
files,
face.
spokesperson for Bill Gates called the latest allegations completely false and said the only thing these documents demonstrate is Epstein's frustration that he did not have an ongoing relationship with Gates. Meanwhile, new fallout for the now former Prince
It shows that he was just mad that he didn't know me.
Andrew, whose connection to Epstein has been documented for years. Andrew appears in the newly released files in photos leaning over a young woman lying on the floor. Now, amid growing outrage in the UK, Andrew has moved out of the 31-room Royal Lodge earlier than expected. He's now living on his brother, King Charles' privately owned estate. British tabloids upping the pressure on the royal family. One headline reading, Charles must now face questions. Vice President J.D. Vance said he would support Andrew being called to testify before Congress.
I'll let them determine whether they should talk to Prince Andrew. I'd certainly be open to it, but it's their call, not mine.
At the White House yesterday, President Trump, who's mentioned hundreds of times in the newly released files, mostly in news articles, said this.
I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Now that nothing came out about me, other than there was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people.
Trump says he cut off all ties with Epstein many years ago. The depositions of Bill and Hillary Clinton for a House committee investigation into Epstein are now scheduled for February 26th and 27th. Neither has been accused of any wrongdoing.
And we will be covering that when that occurs. And speaking of the Jeffrey Epstein situation, just a really unfortunate matter of circumstance that I think everybody should be aware of. I'll play it for you and you can just go ahead and listen.
So they aren't going to talk about this, but in the new Epstein files drop, Jeffrey Epstein was emailing Robert Trivers, who's an American biologist. And they were actively talking about pushing the transgender ideology on children as young as 3 years old. Here's the full email up here. It's very graphic. If you want to read it, you can, but it's pretty bad. And Robert, emailing Jeffrey Epstein, notes, by the way, we are now pushing the intervention earlier. So you notice your 3-year-old son has trans tendencies. So now you intervene with hormones. I would be frightened to do that, but who knows? Now, usually I'm all for reconciliation and forgiveness, but we all know what needs to happen to these people. And Robert Trivers is a free man right now, even after it was revealed that most of his work was funded by Jeffrey Epstein.
Robert Trivers, a fascinating individual. Whatever sciences he'd like to fund, good for him. U.S. and Iran nuclear diplomatic talks are also scheduled in Oman. If you don't know, Iran and the United States are set to resume their nuclear-focused diplomatic talks this Friday in Oman, following Tehran's request to move the venue to limit discussions to nuclear programs rather than the regional issues such as missile development. Whatever. Ukraine is having their own issues, like conflicts escalating ahead of the peace talks. I mean, as we've discussed, Russian forces are carrying out major air and missile strikes on Ukraine's power infrastructure ahead of the Abu Dhabi negotiations, reportedly deploying large numbers of drones and ballistic missiles. Ukrainian officials have condemned the attacks as diplomatic sabotage and emphasized the urgency of security guarantees, ones of which they will not get. Political turmoil and impeach efforts are also high in the Philippines. In the Philippines, if you don't know, impeachment complaints were filed against Vice President Sara Duterte on charges of betrayal of public trust and misuse of funds. They're having a lot of issues, and the Duterte family doesn't have the best history of leadership. That's okay. That's their own fault for electing them. Protest movements in Iran and global diaspora mobilization are continuing. Iran is continuing to be rocked by the large-scale protests we've been covering, the significant amount of human rights concerns, the death, the shooting people. Yeah. Violent domestic crackdown that they've led to tens of thousands of arrests and a lot of reported fatalities. Diaspora leaders for Iranian diasporas are calling for global demonstrations and outlining demands for international action and solidarity. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's the situation that's going down, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of the situation going down, we have only one more story, and then I will excuse you to the rest of your day. You are welcome to enjoy it. I hope that you've enjoyed the show up until now. I've had a wonderful time. Let's do it. A Colorado man has been busted for hiding 3 kids in the trunk of his car. Why not? This is an alarming traffic stop in Westminster. It's led to the arrest of a local man. Police have found 3 children hidden inside the trunk of his car. The incident began late last month when officers spotted 31-year-old Thomas Michael Raiola driving recklessly near City Center Drive and 93rd Avenue. Very interesting. Upon pulling him over, officers reported the strong smell of alcohol, but the situation turned from a routine DUI investigation into a rescue mission when Raiola, I'm going to pronounce it Raiola. Let's do that. Raiola allegedly confessed, "My kids are in the trunk." Westminster police then quickly opened the vehicle and found 3 young children cramped inside the small space. Authorities noted that the rescue was particularly critical given the freezing temperatures in Colorado that evening. Thankfully, the children were undoubtedly shaken. They were found to be physically unharmed. Police later recovered several bottles of alcohol from the main cabin of the car, and the children have since been placed in the care of family members through Child Protective Services. Good. Raiola is now facing a litany of charges. Listen, were they his kids? Number one. If they're not his kids, he's a sex trafficker, maybe throw his ass in jail. If they're his kids, I have memories like this. I have memories like this of my dad. He'd be like, the seatbelts are cut, get in the back. And then he'd just like, and then it's like, we'd be on our way home from fishing and I'd feel the car swerving, but I'd be sitting in the back of this car and I'd just be praying. I'd be praying and I'd be reading out of a little Lutheran prayer book. And then I'd be like, please God, don't let us get into a car accident and don't let us fucking crumple. Like, you know, have you ever seen the cars that turn into like the accordions? I remember that. That was my ride home from fishing when I was a child, and I loved it.
Hi there. Hello. I'm Officer Kessler of the Westminster Police Department. Any idea why I'm stopping you today?
Because I was acting like an idiot.
Yeah, huge in that parking lot. You're lucky you didn't hit somebody. Are you sure you haven't drank any alcohol? Because I got a smell of alcohol coming from the vehicle right now.
I'd be like, are you sure it's not from you, officer?
It's mine, but, your Zins? The Zins. They smell like alcohol, or?
Hell yeah, they do.
Okay, that's it.
Dude, that is a 3 billion IQ move. It's my Zins.
Would you be willing to do some voluntary roadside maneuvers today? Alright, give me a second. You don't want to complete these?
Okay, good pull, by the way. He complies. By the way, good kids. This guy, if they are his kids, they are good kids. Because have you noticed I'll put this in the description so you can look at it yourself if you'd like. He's got these two cops looking at him. One of the cops is standing right next to the car where the children are in. And then he is up on the sidewalk with the other cop. And then the kids have not screamed. They're not crying. They're not doing no nonsense. They understand daddy's going to do his shit. And I kind of love that about these kids. They're like, I don't think this is the first time they've ridden home in the trunk of the car. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't reviewed the footage myself, so I don't know whether or not these kids are his. But let's just continue.
All right, go ahead and put your hands behind your back. So you have 3 kids hiding in the trunk?
Yes. What are you guys doing?
Okay, well now go ahead and step over here.
It's just a bunch of kids. And they're not like dressed like slaves or anything. You know, you hear the story and then you like, oh, there's 3 kids in the back of his car. Were they dressed like fucking, like, were they wearing just one t-shirt and boxers and like, were they they were fucking skin and bones? No, they look like normal kids. They look like, what's it called? They like, one of them's wearing a Nike shirt. One of them's wearing like some kicks, it looks like, you know, they're just like kids.
That was a good idea to say something before.
Driver was arrested for DUI, admits to driving with 3 children in the trunk. Yes, you read that right. Recently, a WPD traffic officer observed a vehicle driving recklessly in the area of Driver City Center. When contacting the driver, officer immediately smelled alcohol. The driver denied consuming it, and then he quickly changed his mind from performing voluntary roadside maneuvers. I mean, I would say this. This is just a childhood memory for these kids, and they're going to look back on this fondly. They're going to be like, remember when Dad got arrested with us in the trunk? And it'll be a nice thing for them. After they placed him in handcuffs, he stated, my kids are in the trunk. Sure enough, 3 kids were in the trunk. We'd like to point out it was also freezing temps outside. This is from the Westminster PD's statement. Whatever. Luckily, the kids were unharmed. Several bottles of alcohol were also recovered from inside the vehicle. Our driver was arrested on suspicion of DUI, reckless driving, failure to provide valid insurance, and 3 counts of child abuse. Listen, child abuse, let's be honest, who knows? Oh, wait a minute. I have some things right here. Okay, this is not his first brush with the law regarding child safety. Court records indicate he previously received a deferred sentence for a 2020 child abuse charge. Ugh, okay, never mind. All right. Listen, you know, anybody can be a dad. No, wait, I got my fucking metaphor mixed up. Fuck. Start me over. Anybody can be a father, not everybody can be a dad. That's a good way to say it. Not everybody can be a dad in the way that dads are needed, you know what I mean? But anyone can father. Any man can father a child. It's not that hard. People will be like, I have children. It's like, oh, that's not that impressive. You're not a dad. You're a father. That's being a father who is not a dad. That's one of the most shameful things that you can be in this world. Quite frankly, it's embarrassing. It's it's like you're a hollow vessel. You're less than nothing. It's depressing. I don't know what else to say. But this guy clearly doesn't have this. He has the love of his 3 children, you know what I mean? Regardless of the charge that was dropped 6 years ago, it was 6 years ago. CPS was contacted and the kids were released to the family. It's important to note that all persons were presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law.
So you have 3 kids hiding in the trunk?
Yes. What are you guys doing?
What are you guys doing in there?
Well, now go ahead and step over here. You didn't think that would have been a good idea to say something before?
Well, I didn't want to get caught. That's probably what he should have said. Is just like, hey, I didn't want to get caught. I didn't want you to know that I was driving around with kids in my car. Because admittedly, we don't know this man's life story. Maybe he was at the bar. Maybe he went home after a long night, and then his wife or husband, let's call it a husband this time, because we're going to get fun, and it's Colorado, so maybe they're a progressive household. Him and his husband, he gets home from a long day at greenery, bud tender, whatever. He's gotten done rolling joints for people in downtown Boulder, so he's got a secondhand high, but his boss has already given him shit for smoking at work, so he can't smoke. So he's secondhand, he drives all the way home, and his husband just gives him shit. He's like, you come home smelling like weed in front of our babies. Listen, we don't want to be a gay stereotype. We don't want people to think we're abusing our children. So let's clean up our acts, and maybe you should go to college, and maybe you should get another real job. And then he looks at his husband and he thinks, I have no real love in this household. I have no real love in my heart except for only for these children. I only have love in my heart for these children. I have no love in my heart for you, Rico. Rico, you are one of the most disgusting people I've ever met in my life. And the only reason I agreed to adopt these white babies with you is because we were going to build a family together. We were going to build a family together in the mountains of Colorado, and you gave up on our dream. You gave up on our dream the moment you stuck it in your trainer at Crunch Fitness. So don't even try. Don't even try to blame the dissolution of our beautiful homosexual marriage on me. And then he goes ahead and he says, I'm done. And then he goes, we don't know where their husband goes. We don't know where he goes. He goes off to somewhere. Maybe he goes to a gay bar, like I said, in downtown Boulder. We don't know. And then the man is left at home. Poor Ryaula, is that how I pronounce his name? He's left there with his 3 kids, and then they're sitting there going, Daddy, what are we going to do tonight? And then he goes, we could have a nice night in January. We could have ice cream. We could watch Wheel of Fortune together, but we're not going to do that. We are going to go, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go. I'm going to take you kids, and we're going to go, and we're going to go. And then that's all he kept saying is, we're going to go. And then he kept grabbing the keys, and then the kids kept going, where are we going? And he said, we're just going to go. And then he grabbed the bottle before he headed out the door, and then he said, kids, just in case, they said that the further back in the car, the higher the chance of survival. And I don't know, Daddy's going to be in a dark place tonight. And if I make any mistakes, I want you kids in the furthest back place of the car. So that if I will only take my life. I would want you all to survive. He doesn't realize that he'd be trapping them in the back of the trunk because they would need the jaws of life to open the trunk in order to get the kids out. So they just be burning alive after he crashed it and whatnot. And he doesn't realize that because he's so concerned with his own gratification, his own love, his own whatever. He's like, I don't feel anything in my marriage. I don't feel anything with my husband anymore. I don't feel anything in life anymore. And now I'm just gonna. He's not thinking like a person does anymore. He's thinking like a person whose life is unraveling. So he gets the kids in the car. And just like Eminem, hey Slim, I drank a 5th of vodka, dare me to drive. He jumped behind the wheel of the car and he took off down the road. And a lot of people would criticize him, but I would call him a realist. I'd call him a brave new soldier. I'd call him a member of the brave new world that we're forming. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to realize eventually that the future generations will be confined to silicon bodies. Anyone born after 2050 is likely going to be mostly, let's call it 50% cyborg. What is left for the human experience? This authentic, you're not going to be allowed to drink and drive past 2050. The AI in your head is going to delete that thought before you even have it. So now this man realizes whatever is waiting for my kids, I don't want to be alive for it. So he gets behind the wheel of the car. He realizes that these kids are going to live in some world where they're fucking, they hold their wrist up to their TV and Netflix starts playing because they like have to pay 5 cents a night in order to watch $5 a night in order to watch. He doesn't even understand what the world he's living in is anymore. His husband doesn't love him. His kids are like, they're always dead-eyed. They're scrolling through social media. They're going to move out. They're going to go to Colorado State, and they're going to forget about him. They're going to talk about him like he's a joke. They're going to be like, my gay dad. That's it. It's a goofy situation, and I love life because life is a set of goofy situations, and sometimes those goofy situations go on to make more goofy situations. Folks, life is beautiful. Never forget that that's the message of this show, is that life is beautiful and life is worth living. Folks, thank you so much for listening for today's, hour that we had you. I will be back at it again tomorrow with more stories. Subscribe if you want more, like if you liked it. You know how that goes. Ring the bell if you want the notifications. You know how it goes. Share it. Do what you do. You know what I mean? I'm not going to tell you what to do. In the meantime, I'll see you tomorrow. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. This has been Ollie Vogt Larson with your brain on air, and bye-bye.